What's crack-a-lackin'? Welcome in to My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Show.
Hey. Welcome in, everybody, to episode 155. I am your host, SleezBall. Today's episode is going to be my wide receiver stardom sit-em for week 12 here. Every single matchup, guys, and you have to know that we are in BYEMAGGEDON here. So we're going to need to crunch down every wide receiver to start to sit here in this video. You have the Atlanta Falcons, who have Drake London and Darnell Mooney out. The Buffalo Bills, who are going to have Keon Coleman. You could go with, you could say Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel with the way he's been playing. Bengals have T. Higgins and Chase out. Jaguars have Brian Thomas Jr. out. Jets have Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson out. And the Saints have Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's been balling out as well. So we're going to have to look at these. I'm going to give you a green, a yellow, and a red bar. The yellow bar will be kind of in the middle, and I'll give you some defensive breakdown on every single game to see how I think it's going to play out. And before we dive into it here, guys, make sure you hit that thumbs up, hit that subscription button. It helps me out a ton, more than you guys know. Turn that bell on as well. I will be live Thursday before the game, 2 hours, taking all your questions, and then we'll have different shows throughout the week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And if you guys cannot make any of the shows, you can always drop any comment you want down below. I try to answer every single one of them. It does not have to pertain to this video. I'm here to help you get your weekly wins and get you that ultimate goal of a championship, guys. And let's dive into my week 12 wide receivers here. So if you guys are new to the channel, this is my wide receiver board for week 12 here. The black box on the top is always the away team. The bottom box is always the home team. And before we dive into the dog pound Thursday night football game here, something I always like to do here before is throw a shout out to the co-host of my show, Big Draft Energy. He does great work behind the scenes, great information that you need to know for fantasy football. And if you gamble, man, gamble responsibly. These are also huge for DFS, Pick-Ems, everything like that. So this is the part where you take your phone out, take a screenshot of it on your PC, screenshot it, or you could just go to his Twitter, smash a follow. I drop all his information in the description as well, YouTube, everything. Subscribe to my guy, drop a follow. It is great information that you need to know for fantasy football. So the first thing we're going to look at here is this is wide receivers on the week with the most advantageous matchups for receiving touchdowns. These are the top 10 defenses that give up the most passing touchdowns on the season. So at the top, you'll see Calvin Ridley. You'll see why I'm so high on Calvin Ridley throughout this video, later in the video. Ladd McConkey, A.J. Brown, list goes on and on. George Pickens up there as well. Now, screenshot that, take a picture of that. We're going to move on to the next one here. This is going to be wide receiver matchups for week 12 with the most advantageous for receiving yards. So these are the defenses that give up the most receiving yards. This is kind of why I like Josh Downs and Michael Pittman this week. Kind of iffy on DJ Moore. We'll get to that. Why I like Malik Neighbors a ton. George Pickens up there again. So if you're building DFS lineups, Pick-Ems, or you have any, questions with information on these, this is what you need to look at. Big Drafters headquarter on Twitter, Big Draft Energy, YouTube as well. All that is in the description. Take a second. It takes you 1 minute to click on that link. Hit that little follow button. Trust me, it's worth every penny with my guy. Now, moving on to the Thursday night game here. This is going to be a tough one for me to decide here. So you're looking at this game, Steelers 9-2 or 8-2 heading into the Cleveland Browns here. And it's going to be a terrible weather game here. It's going to be one of those division grind out games, just like last week with the Ravens. So for me, I had Russell Wilson as a smash last week. Apologize for that. The Ravens were 31st versus the quarterback, 30th versus the dead last versus the wide receiver. And it was one of those division games. And we're in that same situation here. And that's kind of a little iffy, scary part here. And when you're looking at the weather, it's going to be 40 degrees and cold as ever, man. It's supposed to be raining. We don't know about the full weather update yet, but make sure you're paying attention to it. So this could be a pure pound the run game here. So still, I'm going to put George Pickens as a smash start this week again. He saw massive volume last week, 12 targets, 8 receptions, 80, I think it was 85 or 89 yards. And you get the Cleveland Browns here. The Cleveland Browns versus the wide receiver guys, they've been struggling on the year. They rank 24th. They give up 35 points a game. They rank 15th in the red zone because they have a good front seven. When the field shrinks, they always get better. 156.4 passing yards, which is bottom 10 in the NFL as well. And they struggle versus the quarterback. But this is going to be a game where the weather really kind of says it all here. So it's going to be tough for me on both sides. If it's pouring down rain and it's absolutely muddy, horrible weather, obviously I would put George Pickens in yellow. But I don't have, the weather always changes, so make sure you're paying attention to that. On to the Brown side here. Jerry Jeudy has affirmed himself as the wide receiver one of the Cleveland Browns. Now, it was Tillman, and I never really bought into the Tillman hype. I know he's seen massive volume. I said to start him a couple weeks. Those were hits, then a couple misses. But you have to look at Jerry Jeudy with Jameis Winston. And these are tough matchups. Obviously, Baltimore is a struggle versus the wide receiver. So over the past 3 weeks, he's played 100% of snaps, 97% of snaps, 85% of snaps, 11 targets, 8 targets, almost averaging 100 yards a game. Got a touchdown last week, his second touchdown of the year. The matchup versus Steelers is not great, guys. This is one of the best defenses in football. And like I said, if this weather is terrible, I'm trying to avoid it if it's really bad. But the Steelers are 8th versus the wide receiver, so top 10, 7th in the red zone. They allow 28.9 points per game to the wide receiver position, 147.9 yards, which is middle of the pack there, and only a touchdown every other game to the wide receiver. Jameis Winston is going to be under massive duress in this game, especially if the weather's bad. So this one is like the hardest one for me. That's why I kind of did it first. Plus, it's Thursday Night Football. But if the weather's horrible, this is really going to hurt every wide receiver here. So this is like a temper your expectation post now, or video now for the weather coming ahead. But I really only like George Pickens as a start. Heading over to one of the games that I fear is going to be another ugly game, man. We're going to have the Tennessee Titans 2-8 headed into the 7-4 Houston Texans this week. And when I'm looking at this game, if you watch my quarterback video, I have Will Levis as a start quarterback this week, which 100% means that I'm going to put Calvin Ridley as a starting wide receiver this week. And with BYEMAGGEDON going on, I'm going to put Nick Westbrook-Akine as possible starter sit. I mean, he got a 98-yard touchdown last week. He's been playing 90% of the snaps. Tyler Boyd has been phased out as the wide receiver too. It's not even a question anymore. And Akine's look good. So if you need a dart throw play, I'm not against it. You're playing the Detroit Lions, who are 28th versus the wide receiver. They give up 37.9 points a game. They have a great front seven. So obviously in the red zone, they get better. They're number 4 in the red zone. So very stingy there. But guys, they give up 188.7 yards per game to the wide receiver position. Second worst in the NFL. You're probably going to be playing from behind. Passing volume, garbage time, whatever it is, these guys are going to be out there. These are going to be okay plays in fantasy football this week, and everyone is like overlooked the Titans, and it just drives me nuts. On to the Texans side here. CJ Stroud has been absolutely struggling, and only 20 points once this year in fantasy football. This is a very tough matchup, but with BYEMAGGEDON going on, you had Nico Collins on a little snap share on his first game back. You're going to start Nico Collins. Ladarius Sneed didn't practice today. We don't know if he's going to be out there. Obviously, if he's out there, that hurts Nico Collins more, but you're probably still starting him. They rank 4th versus the wide receiver, giving up 26.5 points, 11th in the red zone, so about a top 6 to 7 defense overall. They give up 117 pass yards a game, which is second least. That's second best. So that's only behind the Philadelphia Eagles. So this defense has been good all year round, and CJ Stroud's been struggling. So I have Tank Dell on a sit, John Mechie on a sit. And if Sneed's out there, Nico Collins, I might even put in yellow. I kind of dropped him lower this week. I know he's a superstar wide receiver. I just feel like it's going to be an ugly game script that tends toward Joe Mixon, just like last week again, because the Titans are very good versus the pass. One of the games that is going to be interesting as it can get to watch this week is the Indianapolis Colts and the Detroit Lions. So the Lions are headed in to face off with the Colts. And Vegas has this at 49.5 points. That could be because the Lions just, for some reason, wanted to beat the brakes off the Jags up 30 points with their starters out there. Or it could be because they think that the Lions defense is going to struggle versus the Colts pass, which is what I think is going to happen as well here. So when I'm looking at the Lions, this is Amon-Ra St. Brown. I can't believe people were trying to trade him last week. He's my wide receiver 1 on the week. This is your fantasy football pot of gold playing against the Indianapolis Colts. They can't stop the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, or tight end. They're one of my 3 teams you start everyone against, which would be them, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. So when we're diving into this here, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 40-point game last week. He's always a must start. No question there. Jameson Williams. If you've been a subscriber to my channel or you've seen anything I do with the Boomer Bust players, I never really recommend them to start. So I did it one time this year and it absolutely hit. The rest of the time, I'm kind of like stay away. It's a great matchup here. It's a great matchup across the board for every position here for the Lions. So I'm going to put him in yellow. Sam Laporta should be a smash as well. They struggle versus the tight end. Both running backs are averaging 18, 19 points a game. They should smash. So Jameson Williams is always that scary play for me. If you need to start him because BYEMAGGEDON, I'm not against it. I just don't recommend the start because he's either going to give you 10 to 15 or he's going to give you 0. And that's one of the scariest things with him. Now, Colts side here. Got a little life back for Michael Pittman, guys. He led the team in targets last week. 8 targets. I'm going to put both Josh Downs and Michael Pittman as starts this week. You're going up against the Detroit Lions. They score points at will. You might be playing from behind. Their secondary really struggles versus the wide receiver. They rank 28th. They give up 37.9. They rank 4th in the red zone. And because they have a great front seven versus the run, 188.7 pass yards, which is second worst in the NFL. And Anthony Richardson just threw for 272 last game. So this is going to be an absolute. I love Pittman and Downs in this game. Adonai Mitchell, he's kind of coming around. If you need to throw a deep dart play on Alex Pierce, you could throw him. He might get a bomb. That's risky, kind of like a Jameson Williams play. But this is going to be a good matchup for Anthony Richardson. He's going to be on my smash plays again. And I like Michael Pittman and Josh Downs this week as well. Another one of the tough games of the week for me this week, because it's going to be freezing cold in Soldier Field, is the 8-2 Vikings heading into the 4-6 Chicago Bears. And the over-under is only at 39.5. So that tells you right there that both these defenses are amazing. Vegas doesn't think a lot of points are going to fly. Neither do I. I have both these quarterbacks on a sit, but we got to talk about the wide receivers and how I think it's going to play out, because this is going to be a really tough game to break down here. So when you're looking at the Minnesota Vikings here, obviously, you're starting Justin Jefferson. It's BYEMAGGEDON. There's no way you're sitting one of the best wide receivers in football. I'd say him and Jamar Chase, 1 and 2. I still think Justin Jefferson's a little better than Chase, but Chase is absolutely balling this year. You can go either way with that. Now, I'm going to go Jordan Addison on a sit and Jalen Naylor on a sit. The Chicago Bears defense, guys, you're at home in Soldier Field. They're fighting for their season, 4-6. They're number 2 versus the wide receiver. It right now on AccuWeather is going to be 48 degrees. That is freezing cold almost. 32 degrees is freezing, right? You should know that. So they only give up 26 points to the wide receiver position. They're number 2. In the red zone, they're number 1. In yards per game, they give up 132, which is top 10 as well. They only give up a touchdown every other game to a wide receiver. I mean, obviously, you're going to start Jefferson. I don't like Addison. I don't like Naylor at all in this game, obviously. And I'm just saying, even with Justin Jefferson, I didn't rank him in my baller tier for the first time all year long. You're going to draw Jalen Johnson, the highest graded PFF corner in fantasy or in the NFL, which is one of the best. I know Brisker's still out there, so over the top is going to be a little more open, but still, this defense is so good. And out of the Bears side, this is the hardest thing to do. So I'm going to pull up all 3 in yellow, and we're going to break it down a little differently here. So they fire Shane Waldron, and if you subscribe to the channel or watch any of my shows from the beginning of the year, even with Big Drop Energy, who I talked about at the beginning of my co-host, we literally bashed Shane Waldron and said he was going to be the problem. They were 10 weeks too late on this firing, man. He should have been gone before it started. But so Thomas comes in from the McVay tree, new OC, and all of a sudden, how are you going to break down how the Bears look, right? All of a sudden, you even see Roshan Johnson playing more running back than DeAndre Swift, or kind of a split there. And then when you look at the wide receiver targets versus the Green Bay Packers last week, Rome Odunze had 10, DJ Moore had 7, Keenan Allen had 8. Which one are you going to pick to hit, right? So that's kind of the problem in this game. I'm okay flexing any of them if you need to. I mean, I'm not saying sit them. It is a good matchup versus the Minnesota Vikings. They rank 30th versus versus wide receiver, giving up 39.5 points, 25th in the red zone, and they allow 184 pass yards a game, which is bottom 5. But this is going to be a freezing cold weather game. This is going to be blitzing the rookie Caleb Williams like crazy, and it's just going to be a tough game for me to pick any of these Bears with the new OC and how it's looked. So I'm going to say Justin Jefferson's a start. And with the Bears, if you own 1, 2, 3 of them, take your pick. It's going to be a crapshoot for whoever scores who gets the most points, because they're all seeing the same amount of volume. Moving on to the next monster NFC West game of the season, the 6-4 Cardinals are headed in to face the 5-5 Seahawks. You have the Rams 5-5, the Niners 5-5. This is a monster game here, guys. Now, if you did not subscribe to the channel, this is why you do. I laid out the groundwork for the fantasy football pot of gold to win your championship. And guys, it is the Arizona Cardinals. When they were on their bye week, you should have pounced on every single superstar you could. Marvin Harrison, James Conner, Kyler Murray. You should have done it all. And let me show you why here. Kyler Murray, right now, hang on. Trying to pull it up mid-stream here. So, the beginning of the season schedule, they had the toughest 10-game schedule you could ever face for a team. Buffalo Bills, Super Bowl contender. LA Rams fighting for a playoff. Detroit Lions, Super Bowl contender. Commanders look like a contender, obviously playoff team. 49ers contender. Green Bay Packers contender. Chargers contender. Dolphins fighting for playoff life. And the Chicago Bears and the New York Jets. And he was still QB9. And the Chicago Bears and New York Jets are two of the top 5 defenses on paper. The Jets haven't been playing like it, but the Bears sure are. Now, you go through all that. You're still a top 10 quarterback. That's why Marvin Harrison had so many struggles. That's why this James Conner still balled out through all of it. Kyler Murray still balled out through all of it. Now you get Seattle, Minnesota, Seattle, New England, Carolina, and the Rams. The Cardinals are going to smash from here on out. Marvin Harrison Jr. will always be a start. Kyler Murray will always be a start. James Conner will always be a start. I'll get to James Conner in my running back video. But you get the Seattle Seahawks defense, who's been a fraud. I called it since the first 3 weeks where they were a top 3 defense because they didn't really play anybody. They played 3 backup quarterbacks pretty much. Now they rank 21st versus the wide receiver, giving up 34.2 points, 22nd in the red zone, 143.5 yards, and a touchdown a game to the wide receiver. Now, when you're looking at the game, their over-under right now is at 47.5, almost 50. They think the points are going to fly. So do I. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be an absolute start for me. Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch are not. Heading to the Seattle Seahawks side, guys, it's crazy. Jackson Smith in Jigba is a top 10 wide receiver right now. DK Metcalf being out let him elevate his game. He's definitely taken the wide receiver 2 spot from Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett's droppable right now. If you have him in a 12-man, no need to hold him. I mean, BYEMAGGEDON, if you need to take a dart shot, maybe he can catch a bomb. But him and DK Metcalf, I'm putting his absolute smash starts. The Arizona Cardinal defense has gotten better over the past 2 weeks, but they still rank 17th versus the wide receiver, giving up 32.4 points, 24th in the red zone, so a high touchdown upside there. 150 yards allowed to the wide receiver position, which is middle of the tier, and almost a touchdown a game. But the Arizona Cardinals defense plays better at home. They really struggle on the road. You're at the 12th man here. This game, I think, is going to be very good to watch. NFC West battle is here. And I'm starting Marvin Harrison Jr., DK Metcalf, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Man, we have so many good games on the docket this week. This is another one, and this is my upset call of the week here. The Philadelphia Eagles are headed in to face the Los Angeles Rams, and I have the Rams winning this game, guys. But we're going to talk about the Eagles here first. Whenever you get the Eagles in dome situation where their speed can fly, you're going to have A.J. Brown as a start every single time, right? But the Los Angeles Rams defense is like the Commanders, but this is their weakest spot they have as the wide receiver. They've gotten better throughout the year. Sean McVay, coaching staff, amazing job. They don't even have that many great players on defense, and they're still making stuff happen. So the Rams ranked 22nd versus the wide receiver, giving up 34.3, 27th in the red zone, 148.4 yards, which is middle of the pack there, and 1.3 touchdowns a game. Now they have this at 48.5 over. I think this is going to be the biggest shootout, highest scoring game of the week. And I know all the stats go against it. I know the Eagles are number 1 versus the wide receiver. Very good versus the quarterback. But this is the Rams season and the NFC West. Big division game on the line here. That's why I think the Rams are going to upset here. Kyren Williams have a big game. We'll get to Kyren Williams on that side. But with the Rams here, you're going to have to listen to this part right here. So Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, BYEMAGGEDON, you're obviously starting him, right? But here's what you have to look at. And like I said, throw it out the window. The Eagles are number 1 versus the wide receiver, 26 points a game, tied with the Bears. Number 23 in the red zone, where the Bears are number 1. That's why the Bears defense is so much better. So the touchdown upside is there for the Rams. But what's crazy is they give up 18.1 targets to the wide receiver position a game, which is tied for top 10 in the NFL about that area, and 109 yards. So they obviously don't give up deep balls, right? Because that's the number 1 yardage per game. And with Puka Nacua, so you're going to start him, right? But you should temper your expectations because you are going up against Quinyon Mitchell, and he is going to shadow him all over the field as the update already. And he's locked down so many wide receivers now. I would say he's even better than Christian Gonzalez. So very, very scary for Puka Nacua this week. I think Cooper Kupp is going to have the bigger game. But obviously you're still starting Puka. I'm not saying bench him by any means. I'm just saying temper your expectations because he's in for a very tough matchup here. Just another banger Monday Night Football. The 7-4 Baltimore Ravens headed in to face the 7-3 Chargers. Playoff implication, home field on the line. Crazy game is going to be here. It's at 49.5 over under, guys, and I think it is going to be north of that. I think this is going to be a 30-plus point game. I know you could look at the Ravens and the Steelers last week and say it was a very low-scoring game. that was because it's like a division rival game. I even missed on that with Russell Wilson. I thought he would pop. This is going to be a different game where points are going to be flying here. And the Chargers defense is good. I'm still starting Zay Flowers this week. The Chargers are 15th versus the wide receiver, giving up 31.6 points, 19th in the red zone, 142.9 yards allowed per game to the wide receiver position, and 1 touchdown a game. I'm not touching Deontay Johnson. He hasn't done anything since the trade. Rashad Bateman's kind of fizzled out lately. I made one crazy call on Rashad Bateman during the week that was nuts. But, I mean, in this game, with the points being this high, you have to start Zay Flowers. I know he's kind of a roller coaster, 2-game pop, 2-game miss, 2-game pop, 2-game miss. It's still, I think there's 60 points going to fly in this game. You want to be starting the key players in this game. Now, the Charger side, the matchup of all matchups is here. Justin Herbert's going to be on my smash video. He's a start. Lab McConkey, Quentin Johnston, both smash starts here. The Baltimore Ravens are 32nd versus the wide receiver. This is why I was so high on Russell Wilson last week and absolutely did nothing. Now, they give up 43 points to the wide receiver position in the game, dead last. 29th in the red zone to the wide receiver, third to last. 189.5 yards per game just to the wide receiver position. That's dead last. 1.5 touchdowns to the wide receiver. That's dead last. Everything on paper says that this is going to be an absolute smash game for the Chargers, smash game for the Ravens as well. It's going to be a high-scoring, electric game. I'm starting Zay Flowers, Lab McConkey, and Quentin Johnston, especially on BYEMAGGEDON week. You should be getting Quentin Johnston into your flex if you have him, no matter what. The now 9-1 Kansas City Chiefs, coming off the Josh Allen, hold my beer, put the team on my back, rushing touchdown win that shattered their undefeated season, which I'm so happy about as a Niner fan. I can't stand the Chiefs. Sorry to the Chiefs fans out there. But they're heading in to face the Carolina Panthers here, guys. And this is going to be a very hard game to decipher because the game script could be really ugly in this game. And I'm going to break down a couple points here. Now, for the Chiefs, you're starting DeAndre Hopkins. You're going to, Xavier Worthy, boomer bust guy. Boom last week, got the touchdown. He's always scary to me. Juju Smith-Schuster, I told you guys, drop him. It's not going to be a part of the offense anymore. And he's not. You even saw Justin Watson play more than Juju Smith-Schuster. So stop those questions. Juju, his knees are shot. He had his one game. It was crazy. Now, the Carolina Panthers. So right now, currently, they've gotten better versus the wide receiver. And I'll tell you why they've gotten better versus the wide receiver. So they rank 14th versus the wide receiver, giving up 30 points a game. They used to be bottom of the barrel. They're top 10 in the red zone. They've gone up in the red zone as well. And I'm going to explain this all in one here. 140.3 yards they give up in 1 touchdown. Why have they gone up so much versus the wide receiver on the season? Because they rank dead last everywhere against the run by miles. They're so much worse than every other team versus the run. That's why it's a scary game script for me here for the Kansas City Chiefs, because if DeAndre Hopkins or Worthy's that they don't score kind of early, you're probably going to see Kareem Hunt or Pacheco if he's out there. I don't know if he's going to play this week because he's eyeing his return. Could be. I don't think they're going to need Pacheco versus the Panthers, so why would they rush him back? I don't think they'll do it. So this could be a game script where it's full send run because the Panthers cannot stop. They couldn't stop a college team running the football right now. That's how bad the Panthers run is. So temper your expectations for the wide receivers, even though you're still starting DeAndre Hopkins, but Xavier Worthy's scary. He could also pop one, right? Again, it's BYEMAGGEDON week, so if you need to, you can. But again, I'm saying temper it because the Panthers are so bad versus the run. It's crazy. Now, on the Panthers side, you're going to get Adam Thielen back here as well. You have Xavier Legette out there. You're going to have, Jatavion Sanders in a plus matchup versus tight end. But the Kansas City Chiefs versus the wide receiver right now, and they're number 1 versus the run. So tough matchup coming for Chuba and tough matchup for Jonathan Brooks' debut to put him out there versus number 1 defense. So they're going to be passing a lot. So if you need to throw out Xavier Legette or Adam Thielen as a flex play because, again, you're on BYEMAGGEDON, I'm not against it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. So the Kansas City Chiefs are 13th, giving up 30 points a game. They're 31st in the red zone, so the touchdown upside is very high. And they give up 121.5 pass yards, which is top 10, and 1 touchdown a game. Bryce Young on a little 2-game win streak. Still, it's tough because it's the Chiefs, and they can just control the clock and take this game away from Carolina in a heartbeat. But if you need to throw them out there, they're probably going to be playing from behind every game this season. Passing volume is going to be there. So if you need a flex play, I'm okay with either one of these guys. But again, I don't love it. The 6-5 fighting for a playoff berth Denver Broncos are headed in to face the absolute shamble Las Vegas Raiders. And this, the Raiders, man, I feel bad for Raider fans right now. It's falling apart. You're going to need Shadur Sanders and Deion Sanders, the duo, to come there, and then it's going to electrify Las Vegas. And that would be lights out. So when I'm looking at the Broncos here, Cortland Sutton has been on an absolute tear. I'm not going to put this guy in yellow anymore. He's earned his spot. He's literally had 17, 23, 19, 14 points in the past 4 games, averaging 10 targets a game, averaging 90 yards a game. You get the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are good versus the wide receiver, but still, I'm starting Cortland Sutton. I'm done doubting this guy. It's all they have, literally. Their other wide receivers, you could say Humphrey, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin. They all split at about a 50% rate, so it's the Cortland Sutton show. They don't even have a tight end. Troutman and Kroll, they mean nothing, so nothing there. But when you're looking at the Raiders, they are 7th versus the wide receiver, giving up 27 points a game, or 27.9 points a game, top 10 there. 21st in the red zone, so about a top 14 to 15 defense. 119 yards, that's top 10 as well, and a touchdown every other game. So it's not great, but when the Raiders can't move the ball, Zamir White, Alexander Madison banged up. Jacoby Myers is going to draw Patrick Surtain. He's a sit for me. Trey Tucker's been nothing. Do I even need to name another wide receiver for the Raiders? No, I do not. They have nothing going really. And they're just waiting for Aiden O'Connell to kind of get back to see what they have looking forward. I know Gardner Minshew looked okay last week, but you're going up against the Denver Broncos. This is my number 1 defense on the year, my favorite defense to watch. They're number 5 versus the pass, 26 points, number 8 in the red zone, 125 yards allowed. That's top 10. And a touchdown every other game at a 0.5 rate. Good luck scoring teeters, Raiders. This is going to be very ugly, and Cortland Sutton is all I like from this game. The 4-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers are headed in to face the New York Giants, and led by Tommy DeVito. Finally, Danny Dimes is out. God, I've been calling for that guy's job all year long. But you're going to get Big Mike back. And remember, if you guys watch my wide receiver video, I'm going to call it again right here. Mike Evans, I want to get the exact yardage right here, but I'm going to call out that right now, from the schedule that the Bucs have heading forward with Chris Godwin out, so Mike Evans is at 335 pass yards. He would need 665 to get 11 straight seasons of 1,000+ yards. Now, their schedule guys heading ahead, this is why I said pick up their defense. This is why you traded for Mike Evans when he was on my buy low. They get the New York Giants. They get the Carolina Panthers. They get the Las Vegas Raiders. Their only tough matchup is round 1 of the playoffs versus the Chargers. Then they get the Cowboys, Carolina, and the Saints. Mike Evans can do 665 in this stretch. I'm telling you right now, he's going to do it. I'm calling it. When I'm looking at Jalen McMillan or Sterling Shepard, now that Mike Evans is back, if you need to plug and play them, maybe. I mean, I don't know who's going to hit. With Jalen McMillan being back, kind of hurts Sterling Shepard. And Cade Otton's become a real thing. So this is pretty much going to be the Mike Evans, Cade Otton show for me. I'm not going to start Jalen McMillan or Sterling Shepard unless you're in a super deep league, like a 14, 16 man, and it's BYEMAGGEDON week and you need to throw him in there. I'm okay with it. But the New York Giants defense versus the wide receiver right now, they are currently, hang on, I got something stuck in my throat. They rank 12th. They give up 30.7, so not a bad D. They have a great front 7, 14th in the red zone, 137.2 yards given up per game, which is top 15, and 1 touchdown a game. But still, Mike Evans back. Baker is going to feed this guy like a machine. I mean, I think he's going to see 15 targets in this game. I'm not even kidding. When I go to the Giants side here, the matchup is absolutely great. And if you watch my QB video, Tommy DeVito wasn't bad last year, and he even played tough matchups. Malik Neighbors is in my top 10 wide receivers this week. Tampa Bay really struggles versus the wide receiver. They're 27th. They give up 37.2 points per game to the wide receiver position. 17th in the red zone, 163.8 yards a game just to the wide receiver position, which is bottom 10, and 1.1 touchdowns a game. So the opportunity is here. And I think Tommy DeVito is going to make this offense look better, and he's going to be on my sleeper plays this week because the matchup is great versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if you need to throw out Wan'Dale Robinson, I'm okay with him as a flex play if you need on BYEMAGGEDON as well because the matchup is beautiful. Darius Slayton, I haven't seen the injury update yet. He could be a dart throw. He always catches bombs as well. He's more boomer bust risky, though. I'd rather go with the safe play of Wan'Dale Robinson. 3-7 Dallas Cowboys, whose season is absolutely over, and they should be looking for a new head coach, but just Jerry Jones won't do it. He's so stubborn, crazy. They're heading in to face the Commanders, who have lost 2 straight, and the Commanders are going to get right in this game, man. So when I'm looking at CeeDee Lamb here and the Dallas Cowboys, right? Last week, you saw Cooper Rush start again. I don't know why they're not throwing, Trey Lance out there, which is driving me nuts. I mean, we know what we have in Cooper Rush. There's no future there. I don't know why they're keeping him out there. But CeeDee Lamb, I ranked him at my wide receiver 14 or 15, about right where he finished. And when you look at it, he saw 12 targets, but it is garbage time. And that's probably how the Cowboys are going to live for the rest of the season, is pass heavy garbage time. So CeeDee Lamb, although you're still probably not going to get the wide receiver elite top 5 numbers he's going to give you, he's still going to see 10 targets a game. He's still going to be a startable mid and high end wide receiver 2. You're going up against the Washington Commanders, and you really saw CeeDee Lamb and only the tight ends. Schoonmaker saw 10 targets. Jake Ferguson would have gone bonkers without a concussion, right? So you didn't really see any other wide receivers involved. I know you might get Brandon Cooks back off IR and Tolbert. I don't really think any of that's really going to matter. I think this is Cooper Rush's last start here this week. Honestly, I think you're going to see Trey Lance after this game. That's why I've had him in waiver wire videos. But the Commanders, like I've said in previous videos, their defense has gotten better throughout the year. Dan Quinn, had defensive-minded coach of the year, in my opinion, changed to a single high, and their defense went from 30th to 16th. Now they add Marshawn Lattimore. I haven't seen if he's going to be out there. That would make it more tough for CeeDee Lamb. But they give up 31.8 points. They rank 16th. They rank 18th in the red zone, 138.6, which is top 15 in yards, and 1.1 touchdowns. And that's way better than it used to be to start the season. So this defense has gradually gotten better. Now, when I look at the Commander side, it's not time to panic on Terry McLaurin, guys. One bad game does not ruin your fantasy season. And everyone's like, should I start Terry? I'm getting all these questions. Yes, you start Terry McLaurin every single week. He has one bad week, and he's been averaging freaking 17 fantasy points on the season, and people panic. It's going to be fine. You get the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are not going to be able to move the ball on offense like they did, in the garbage time last week. You're playing that they ranked 18th. They give them 32.6. They ranked 20th in the red zone. They give 147 yards, which is middle of the tier there, and a touchdown a game. And Terry McLaurin is going to smash. You don't know if Deron Bland's going to be out there. You don't know if Lewis is going to be out there. They could be down there 2 corners again. Diggs will still be out there. He's not been Diggs at all since his injury. He's looked way worse. And their season's falling apart. You're going to start Terry McLaurin with confidence this week, guys. If there's a question about it, he's wide receiver 7 on the season. Start this man. Do not let one game falter you from not starting Terry McLaurin. He's going to smash this week. Big game here for the Miami Dolphins hosting the New England Patriots this week. The Dolphins are trying to save their seasons, guys. Right now, 4-6, need this win to get back into the hunt. Big time. Patriots are 3-8. Their season's pretty much done. Now, when I'm looking at the New England Patriots here, Drake May is probably, in my opinion, might be the best quarterback in this draft class, or Bo Nix. They both have no weapons, really. I'd say Drake May's, a little less weapons than Bo Nix, having Cortland Sutton out there. But when I'm looking at the Patriots here, Pop Douglas seeing good enough volume to throw in a flex play, especially on BYEMAGGEDON. Maybe Boutte as well. Jalen Polk was never a guy I was high on coming out. I never liked his game out of college. I'm not throwing shade at him. I just even thought Jalen McMillan was better when he was out there with Roma Dunze in Washington. Now, Pop Douglas has seen good enough volume. He's getting you 10 points a game. The matchup is very tough. The Miami Dolphins versus the wide receiver on the season, guys, they rank top 6. They rank 27.2 points per game. That's 6. They rank 2nd in the red zone, so about a top 3 to 4 defense all the way around. 125 yards allowed, which is top 10 as well there, and a touchdown every other game. So it's going to be a very, very tough matchup here, but I do think you're going to get a lot of volume from playing from behind here. I do think the Dolphins are going to get ahead early. I think they're going to run the Patriots over, and I think the Patriots are going to have to pass heavy in this game. So if you need to throw out DeMar Douglas or a Boutte, dart throw, you can, because BYEMAGGEDON week is here, and if you're in competitive leagues, you got to take a shot somewhere. On to the Patriot or Dolphins side. Tyreek Hill. This is why I said buy low everywhere. The Dolphins are going to find life. They're going to fight back. And Tyreek Hill finally had a big game last week. Got, 19 points in fantasy, but the past 4 weeks, he's been over 10. Still hasn't had that big bomb Tyreek week. I know the wrist and everybody talks about it. He still had 2 touchdowns the past 2 games. He's still getting targeted like Tyreek Hill. And I think he's going to have his big game here. Now, Jalen Waddle, guys. This might be the worst pick in fantasy football of the year for a guy that stayed healthy. It's absolutely crazy to me. Jalen Waddle is wide receiver 60, right? You did lose Tua for those weeks, so it hurt. He's only had 1 game over 10 points all year long. If you want to take the gamble on BYEMAGGEDON, again, like I said, there's so many buys. If you want to take the gamble, go for it. I am done starting Jalen Waddle. I'm done putting him in yellow. I'm done putting him anywhere. He has not produced. It looks like that injury from last year still got him hampered up. He does not look the same speed, everything. But they do say it's a 2-year recovery time, which is what Pacheco is facing right now. So if you heard that, listen about that for Pacheco moving forward, because he runs like a freight train, man. That's going to be crazy with his injury and how he comes back. But the only guy I like is Tyreek Hill, and if you want to throw out DeMarco Douglas, I'm not against it. The biggest game of the week for me, my 49ers need a win versus the Green Bay Packers, man. This game is at 47.5 over under. The NFC West, like I've said in this video, is neck and neck across the board. 5-5, 5-5, 5-5, 6-4. We got to get this win. We've owned the Green Bay Packers for a long time. And whenever you get Shanahan and LaFleur on the same field, I think this over-under is way too low. I think 47.5. If you're a betting man, I would smash this. This is going to be like a 30-28. The Packers and Niners always score high points. I don't care about the coldness of the field or anything like that. Being in Lambeau, CMC is going to pop in this game, and it's going to be a high-scoring game. Now, Deebo Samuel, everyone has their panic meter on. Right, he's had 2 bad games in a row. It happens in fantasy football, man. Deebo Samuel is still a game-breaking wide receiver. I don't care if he's gotten 12 points and 6 points and Juan Jennings has seen more. There's no way I'm keeping this guy on my bench in a monster game. This is where Deebo gets pissed off when something bad happens. He goes for 30 points, and you're going to have him on your bench, and you're going to be mad. I just know it. Juan Jennings, obviously 11 straight targets in a row. Definitely starting him. He's become Brock Purdy's go-to guy. But Kittle is back this week as well. Practice today. Probably going to take a couple targets away from Juan Jennings. And Green Bay really struggles versus the tight end. But we'll get to that in my tight end video. So I'm still starting Deebo Samuel and Juan Jennings. I think you're crazy if you think you're sitting Deebo Samuel, especially on a BYEMAGGEDON week. Like, if you're sitting Deebo, tell me in the comments who you're sitting in for, and we need to talk about it. On to the Green Bay Packers side. Jayden Reed. So this is going to be an interesting play here from me on this one. So when you're looking at the 49ers and the Green Bay defense, they are side by side. So you look at this. They're number 10 and number 11 versus the pass each other. All their stats are the same. Side by side in the red zone, 9 and 10. And when I look at yards, 138, 135. Touchdowns, 0.9 to 1. All that gets thrown out the window in this matchup because it's going to be 2 mastermind head coaches of offenses going at it. Now, why I like Jayden Reed so much, Tre'Davious Ward will be back there. His, death of his daughter kept him out last week. Prayers up there. Very sad situation. Bosa's going to be back out there, it looks like, with the injury updates today. And what do the Niners get beat at is chunk plays. They don't give up a lot of passing yards, but they do give up the big play. Jayden Reed, big play maker. Christian Watson, big play maker. If you need to throw him in the flex, I'm not against it. Romeo Doubs is kind of their possession guy. That's where the Niners thrive at, is 10 to 15-yard passes. They really struggle versus the deep ball. So, because Hufanga is not out there, he's still hurt. He should be back here soon. Injuries have just killed my team this year. The 49ers have just been up and down roller coaster ride with injuries. But I'm telling you, the 49ers are going to win this game in a shootout game and start Deebo Samuel, Juan Jennings, and Jayden Reed. And if you need to flex Christian Watson, I'm not against it. Hey. Thanks for rocking with me today, guys. That is the end of the episode. That is my wide receiver stardom, sit-em, every single matchup for Week 12 with BYEMAGGEDON going on. And again, guys, if you're sitting Deebo Samuel, drop me in the comments who you're sitting Deebo Samuel for, because we need to talk about it. Before we head out, guys, make sure you smash that like. Make sure you hit that subscription button. Turn that bell on. It helps me out a ton. I cannot thank you guys enough for all the support this year. It's been absolutely amazing. I will be live on Thursday. I'm also going to get my tight end and running back stardom sit-ems here out after this. I got a couple errands to run, but I hope I get it out tonight. And then tomorrow will be a early morning show for a Scott Fish breakdown with a special guest of mine, Michael Wright, who's going to be on the show. And we're going to break down a different inside look to fantasy football, like a scoring system you guys don't normally see. And it's the biggest fantasy football tournament on the planet. And we're both in the playoffs. So it's going to be a very interesting show on Thursday if you guys want to tune into that tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. But that's it for me, guys. I will catch you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. SleezBall out.